Hello, my name is Miles Williams, a master's student in the exercise science program at the University of Indianapolis. Today I will be speaking on the differences in motivation sources over time in Division II student athletes undergoing anterior cruciate ligament rehabilitation. My professors who are also included in this study are Dr. Trent Kayott, Dr. Brian Gerlach, Dr. Stacy Gavin, and Dr. Mindy Mayo. When decided to dive into the research for post-operative rehabilitation, there are a few studies that examine motivation in collegiate student athletes using the self-determination theory. The self-determination theory continuum is a spectrum of sources of motivation and a subject varying from autonomous motivation to amotivation. Mechanisms of how individuals make shifts along this continuum and a taxonomy of motivation sources. The self-determination theory is a macro theory with four subtheories. The four subtheories are basic needs theory, cognitive evaluation theory, causality orientations theory, and organismic integration theory, the one we'll be using in our study. Looking at the self-determination theory continuum, this is a theoretical framework. At the high end of self-determination and intrinsic motivation, athletes have a high internal drive to complete tasks and a high task satisfaction within oneself. On the opposite end, there's an amotivation, a low self-determination, and either very low motivation or no motivation for an apparent reason or many reasons. In the middle of the continuum lies a threshold of autonomy, favoring intrinsic or amotivation. This threshold depicts the personal initiative one may have to complete their goals. Integrated regulation resembles a high correlation between one's goals and actions to receive their goals. Identified regulation shows the level of personal importance to achieve one's goals. On the other end of the threshold lies introjected regulation. Athletes completing tasks to avoid shame or guilt. Their performance is based on their self-esteem or how they will be viewed. Moving closer to a motivation, lastly we have external regulation. Athletes' actions based on reward or avoidance of punishment. Looking at the literature review, the return to play process can be very difficult for student athletes. Research has shown that there is an increase in depression, anxiety, and detriment to self-esteem. Higher self-determination and internal motivation can mitigate these responses to injury and produce positive perceptions of return to play. When making our research question, we decided to go with, are there differences in motivation sources over time in Division II student athletes undergoing anterior cruciate ligament rehabilitation? Now, why would this study matter or help with future matters? Understanding how post-operative rehabilitation affects the motivation of student athletes could provide strategies to mitigate such responses like depression or anxiety and build towards autonomous behavior. We wanted to recruit 15 Division II student athletes who have undergone ACL reconstruction, completing an online demographic questionnaire and an 18-item sport motivation scale 2, used to measure the six motivation sources in the self-determination theory continuum that we spoke before about. We will analyze results through analysis of variance with the Bonferroni post hoc test, which will allow us to compare the means of the six motivation sources over time, 5 time points. In the 18 item In the 18-item motivation scale, we have our six constructs, the top three being high in internal drive. They will use a 7-point Likert type scale, 1 through 7, 1 showing no corresponds to question, 7 showing 1 corresponds exactly. A higher sum score shows a higher indication of autonomous motivation. Some limitations during this research design: we do not recruit student athletes in a specific stage of their season. Depending on which stage an athlete is in, preseason, in-season, off-season, can affect motivation responses during rehabilitation. Thank you, and I can take questions now.